Hi, folks. My name is Rachel Szymarek, and I use she, her pronouns. I was a summer intern with HAND, the Homeless Action Network of Detroit. I'm going to chat with you a little bit about my time at HAND and the projects I've been able to work on. To give you some background about how I came to HAND, I'm pretty ingrained in the Southeast Michigan community. I'm from Port Huron, up in the Thumb, and relocated to Ypsilanti for college. Currently, my wife Lauren and I live about half an hour north of Detroit. Um, my experience in the child welfare system as a teenager and work in foster care advocacy really led me to social work. Um, I graduated from Eastern Michigan this April with my BSW, and I'm currently prepping to apply for graduate programs. As part of Eastern's internship, I completed 400 hours at Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan, so CCSEM, Center for the Works of Mercy over on Woodward. My work there allowed me to develop a deeper understanding of how organizations um, provide services to people who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability. Um, I've always had an interest in macro social work at the systems and community level. And my internship at CCSEM sort of honed that focus toward housing, which is in an incredibly broad and intersectional body of work. But housing is also a crucial need that evades some of the most vulnerable members of our communities. So after serving clients and seeing some of the institutional barriers and deficiencies that prevent them from moving forward, I really wanted to learn more about how Detroit is collaborating to identify and meet the needs of individuals and families facing a housing crisis, and that led me to HAND. This is a general overview of my time at HAND, which started midway through May. The first part of the internship was orientation and training, and a little bit of independent research to get a basic understanding of HAND, the coordinated entry system in Detroit, and the continuum of care. I'll use COC as an abbreviation. Um, I've learned fairly quickly about the CAM transition, which became the theme of the summer. While I don't think this process is typical of a HAND internship, it did provide a unique opportunity to get elbow deep in how the coordinated entry system functions and how partnerships across the community work to ensure that people have access to shelter and services. With how things move, how fast things move in the COC, I was happy to be part of the celebration for the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project, YHDP, in June, which highlighted the hard work that staff, community partners, and youth are doing to elevate the voices and enhance outcomes for youth experiencing housing instability in Detroit. Also, during that month, we ramped up the HAND training committee, which I will talk about more later. In July and the beginning of August, I worked on the emergency transfer plan training, and I'll also talk more about that process later in the presentation. I completed my HMIS certification in August. I'm sure everybody knows, but HMIS is the Homeless Management Information System. For any future interns that might be watching this, I can confirm that you can, in fact, complete our required HMIS training modules in about 4.5 hours. But I definitely don't advise doing that at the last minute and having to find out like I did. Um, I worked on social media content and analytics through the end of the internship. I published 5 posts and 2 stories to Instagram and Facebook, which generated a reach of about 845 and 94 audience engagements. I think that's average. I was also able to work on a newsletter segment about one of the many CAM transition updates and published an infographic about disability and homelessness for Disability Awareness Month in July. So the work that was happening at HAND this semester was all over the place, which I loved. And it also attested to how much is going on in the homelessness sphere right now in Detroit. I've put together kind of buckets of the more consistent tasks throughout the semester, starting with what I'm calling COC training, which I spent a good portion of the internship involved in. I was introduced to training through the LMS meetings. LMS stands for Learning Management System. If you've ever done any virtual onboarding for jobs or even taken an online class, that's essentially what an LMS is. It houses, tracks, and gives your audience access to training content. And there's a lot that's involved in that. From configuring your courses, which is really just a high-level term for categorizing, to actually creating your training content, to managing your audience. This semester, that system was built, and the content has been created for new and returning CAM staff, as well as hand staff, and will eventually provide training to the entire COC. To move that goal forward, the hand training committee was created as an offshoot of the LMS work group. I scheduled the weekly meetings for that and helped create the agendas. Generally speaking, I jumped in with questions and comments as needed, and I was able to help facilitate one of the meetings. Another part of this work was developing the COC training grid, which is essentially just a list of the COC participating agencies and what they do, all of the training requirements for the COC, and who could provide those trainings. As of right now, we're keeping track of dates of trainings, who's providing them, and the method of delivery. I think Tori is starting to build out a training calendar that will eventually be accessible on our website. Another consistent staple of my internship was attending meetings and taking notes as needed, which doesn't sound exciting, but was absolutely integral to my internship experience. Like I've said, things moved very quickly with the CAM transition, and these meetings were how I stayed up to date with what was happening and how it potentially impacted my work. More importantly, though, it helped me gain an understanding of how a nonprofit agency like HAND carries out its work, embraces challenges, and comes up with creative solutions as needs arise. I've listed all the meetings out if anybody's interested. Most of them are bi-weekly and some of them are quarterly. I promise I didn't spend every waking minute in meetings. I also helped with the newsletter supplements and social media this semester. I did do that infographic for Disability Awareness Month and helped with a segment on one of those CAM transition updates. I did the weekly social media posts and was able to work on social media analytics in order to boost engagement with our followers. Social media engagement is super interesting. If anyone's a data nerd like me, especially, this is an ongoing project that I do hope to be able to continue to work on. The highlight this semester for me was being able to attend that YHDP celebration. I helped set up the day before, registered guests the day of, and helped tear down. I have a soft spot for programs that incorporate lived experience of youth, and it was really powerful to hear those young people attest to their experiences and celebrate the work that's been done. This is a little picture of the gorgeous mural at the Ruth Ellis Claremont Center where the event was held, and some of the setup crew. I also got to meet a lot of the hand staff that I had been hearing in meetings. I was able to see them in person, so that was really cool. I spent a good deal of time this semester on all things training, and alongside that COC training grid, I would say the most advanced project was the emergency transfer plan training video. The emergency transfer plan is this is a COC wide training, and it's essentially a process required by HUD for tenants who are members of COC or ESG funded project, who are also survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, to request an emergency transfer to a safe unit. I started with a learning plan outline that had been shared with me, and the official Detroit COC emergency transfer plan document itself. From there, I cross-referenced what was included in the learning outline with the plan, and identified what I needed or where I needed to do some additional research. That ended up including consulting the original VAWA policy and subsequent reauthorizations, as well as recordings of trainings from other organizations like HAND. I was lucky to be able to attend 2 webinar trainings for the HUD Exchange, or from the HUD Exchange, during the last 2 weeks of my internship that focused specifically on this topic. So that was pretty exciting. The training video itself is approximately 14 minutes long. It's comprehensive without being too heavy, with 2 summary slides, a resource slide at the end, and 19 knowledge checkpoints, which are essentially just quiz questions to make sure the user understands the main points. This is pending review and approval, but I'm pretty proud of my work on it. Between May 15th and August 23rd, I completed 289 hours, which is a little on the high side for most of the internships, I think. I tend to be pretty thorough with research and creative projects, so maybe that's why. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, I'm really interested in macro level work. It's intriguing to me how communities use their resources, their strengths, and account for gaps or deficiencies to better serve a population. Because housing and homelessness is such a broad area that requires collaboration across multiple industries, I really wanted to gain a better understanding of what the big picture, capital H, homelessness response system looks like in Detroit. So, how that works, what processes are built in, how community organizations serve people and work together, how training and quality improvement happens, and really just soak in the how of this system. At this point, I am by no stretch of the imagination an expert on any of those things, but I was able to get an idea of what the homeless response system is and how it's administered from a leadership level. And I gained a foundational knowledge and learned about things that I had no idea existed, what a COC is, what the national and state level policies are that govern this work, and how the HMIS functions and why it's important. This has really given me a behind the scenes look at how communities are able to provide housing services to the people who need them, and the different ways that I might be able to move that forward in my career. I do think that I've continued to narrow down my focus to evaluation and quality improvement. For me, it's very clear that everyone involved in this work at all levels works incredibly hard, is passionate about the work, and genuinely care about the folks experiencing housing insecurity. But there's also an ever present need to understand how service delivery happens, what's working, where the opportunities for growth are, reinforcing funding and support for programming and staffing, and providing standardized, comprehensive training that allows leaders to make informed decisions, for staff to feel that the work matters and is actually working, and to improve the lives of the people that we serve. Where I go from here, I'll figure that out. But for now, I'd just like to say thank you to the folks at hand, particularly for Tori and the capacity building and training team, for helping me learn these lessons, for making me feel like my input and my efforts were valued, and for giving me the opportunity to watch how this organization both humbly and competently responds to acute, um, really crucial community needs. This has been an incredibly rewarding experience for me, and I hope to continue to work alongside you all in the future. So I've included a sneak peek of my resume here, but I'm happy to provide the document itself if that's of interest for any reason. Please, please, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I'd be happy to talk with you about my experience, housing or homelessness in general, or really anything else that strikes your fancy. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.